Today, I want to address something that's not just concerning but critical: the crisis of modern masculinity. It's an issue that's eroding the foundation of families, communities, and even faith. This conversation started with a simple yet profound question from one of my spiritual sons. He asked, "Father, are there common themes you notice in confession? What do people struggle with the most?" The question stayed with me, and as I prayed and reflected, a deeper trend emerged. Yes, the 7 deadly sins remain at the core of our struggles, but something stood out. Something tied to gender. Among young men, especially those under 30, I've noticed a startling shift in how they process life. Their thought patterns are beginning to mirror a way of thinking I would describe as more feminine. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about men versus women or assigning value to one way of thinking over another. Both masculine and feminine approaches are God-given and uniquely valuable. But when young men take on thought patterns that conflict with their God-designed roles, it creates confusion, not just in their lives, but in the world. This shift isn't happening in isolation. It's a symptom of a broader cultural change, and it's leaving many young men adrift, unsure of how to live out their roles as leaders, protectors, and providers. So what's behind this shift? Why does it matter? And how can young men reclaim the strength of authentic masculinity? Let's explore the beauty of complementary thinking. First, let's affirm something critical. Feminine thinking is not a weakness. Women bring incredible emotional depth, relational insight, and interconnectedness to life. These qualities are essential for strong families and communities. Take marriage, for example. A wife's wisdom often complements her husband's logical, action-oriented approach. Together, their strengths create harmony, a reflection of God's perfect design for partnership. But problems arise when men take on thought patterns that are at odds with their God-given purpose. Instead of leading boldly, many young men are becoming hesitant, indecisive, and even timid. Through countless confessions and conversations, I've identified 3 areas where this shift is most apparent. 1. Overthinking and paralysis by analysis. 1. Strength of feminine thinking is its ability to see life through a kaleidoscope of perspectives, considering every angle before acting. While this trait can be a blessing, it can also lead to decision paralysis, overanalyzing possibilities until no decision is made. What's troubling is that many young men are now exhibiting this same tendency. They consume endless amounts of information, but struggle to filter what matters. They analyze, debate, and hesitate, paralyzed by the what-ifs. Instead of taking bold steps, they get stuck in cycles of overthinking, which prevents growth and forward momentum. 2. The pursuit of perfection. Another hallmark of feminine thinking is a desire for perfection. Many women feel pressure to make the perfect decision in relationships, careers, and family life. But here's the truth. Perfection is an illusion. Sadly, this same trap is ensnaring young men. They wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect plan, or the perfect moment. In doing so, they miss out on the opportunities that come from simply acting and learning along the way. Life isn't about flawless execution. It's about making the best decision you can, trusting God with the rest, and growing through the process. 3. Fear of failure. Over risk of reward, historically, men have been risk takers, the explorers, the builders, the dreamers. They ventured into the unknown, driven by the possibility of reward, even if it meant risking failure. But today, fear of failure has become a defining trait for many young men. They avoid risks, playing it safe instead of stepping into the challenges God calls them to face. This fear leads to a life of mediocrity, a life that feels secure but lacks fulfillment, purpose, or adventure. How did we get here? This crisis of masculinity didn't arise overnight. It's the result of cultural forces that have chipped away at traditional values over time. Overexposure to information. The digital age floods us with options and opinions, leaving many overwhelmed and unsure of their own beliefs. Shifting cultural narratives. Modern culture often downplays traditional masculinity, labeling it as toxic or outdated, while celebrating passive or non-committal behaviors. Loss of male role models. In many families and communities, young men grow up without strong male mentors to guide them into authentic manhood. These factors create a perfect storm, leaving many young men adrift and unsure of their identity or purpose. Reclaiming authentic masculinity. The good news is this: change is possible. God calls every man to live boldly, courageously, and authentically. Here's how you can start. 1. Understand that life is not a simulation. Life isn't a video game. There are no pauses, resets, or cheat codes. Mistakes are inevitable, but they're also valuable. Real confidence doesn't come from avoiding failure. It comes from facing it head-on, learning from it, and moving forward. Some of the greatest successes in history were built on the foundation of failure. The key is to act. Start small, but start. Each step forward builds resilience, character, and confidence. 2. Stop feeding a loser mentality. One of the most damaging habits young men fall into today is the consumption of pornography. It's not just a sin, it's a poison that warps your mind and spirit. Pornography feeds insecurity, convincing you that you're inadequate or unworthy of real intimacy. It traps you in a cycle of self-doubt and shame, making it harder to see yourself as the protagonist of your own story. Brothers, God created you for more. He calls you to be the hero of your life, not a bystander watching from the sidelines. 3. Embrace responsibility as the path to maturity. When you were a child, your father guided your every step, but as you grew, he expected you to take responsibility for your actions. In the same way, God calls you to spiritual and emotional maturity. He's given you everything you need: His Word, His church, and His grace. Now it's time to step up. Take ownership of your decisions, learn from your mistakes, and live with integrity, courage, and faith. Young men, the world doesn't need perfect men. It needs courageous men, men who trust in God, take bold risks, and face life's struggles with determination. Here's what I ask of you. Seek out older, virtuous men who can mentor and guide you. Face your fears and challenges head-on, even when they seem overwhelming. Trust in God's plan, even when it's uncertain. Success isn't handed to you. It's earned through perseverance, faith, and a willingness to act. Your role in God's design. God created you with a purpose. He designed you to lead, protect, and build. He gave you strength, not just physical, but spiritual and emotional, to face life's challenges and inspire others. Don't let fear or hesitation hold you back. Step into your calling and watch how God uses you to bless the world. If this message resonates, share it. Encourage a brother, a friend, or anyone who needs this wake-up call. Together, we can inspire a generation of men to rise up, reclaim their identity, and live boldly as God intended. God bless you.